Welcome back. This is Rubbin'minds, and now we want to move on to the final segment, which is the personality interview with one of my favorite celebrities ever. He's one of Nollywood's most recognizable faces, but there is more to Deyemi Okanlawon. I always mispronounce your surname.
You actually do, for the first time, you're getting close.
I'm getting close, right? There's so much to you, than just being a Nollywood actor. You wear so many hats to what you do, and I'm incredibly proud of all of the things you've achieved.
Thank you.
And I'm glad I'm able to say this on air, not just to you personally.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, how does somebody that studied chemical engineering become one of the most recognizable faces in Africa?
Life. And Nigeria.
Nigeria happens to you.
Nigeria happens to everybody. But I think for me, the interesting thing is that I've always done what I love doing, right? So even when I found myself in secondary school studying sciences, but still reading all the literature books, still understanding, having that artistic flair, then getting into chemical engineering and, putting all that effort into it. But while I was on campus, I was selling my mom's bread and cake.
Oh, wow.
Yes. As I left school, wasn't graduating, my mom said, you know what, why don't you were so good at it, just join me, and help me sell. So I joined her for about 2 years. I was selling cake. So I thought I was in Unilag, and I went to Babcock, Bowen, Covenant, all these other schools, Yaba Tech and a few others, started selling bread and cake there.
So you've been in marketing for a long time?
And that put me in marketing for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so up until 2013, I was working with a company called OLX, if you remember OLX from way back. Yeah. And I was head of marketing for OLX. So this is without studying marketing. This is all self-taught. This is experience and just putting all the work in. Same thing, I was on campus studying engineering, selling bread and cake, but I was in the drama department in a school fellowship, in a Christian campus fellowship.
Oh.
So you can guess what happened after that. I just kept doing that, until one day opportunity met preparation. And, somebody just mentioned there's an audition somewhere. And I went there, and I got 2 roles from my first audition.
From your first audition, you got 2 roles. I auditioned so many times. I can't. If I auditioned 100 times, I was probably called back just 2 times. And I only got 1 role.
Try again. Try again.
Well, the good news is it put me on the path that I am currently. So.
See? And I wanted to do this. I wanted to be an OAP, TV, radio. And I went, I dropped my voice here, nobody answered me. I tried emceeing at events. That one did not work.
Well, the good news is that you MC a lot of events now, so you're good to go. So let's talk about your process as an actor.
Right.
Do you have any particular routine? Because I've seen that you never have a bad performance. I was watching, I think, Bimbo Ademoye's To Be a Friend.
To Be a Friend, yeah.
And I watched it, and this is not YouTube standard, quote and unquote, because, YouTube movies is really fast-paced. Just gather a bunch of actors and just do what you have to do.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm just telling you the standard, right? So it was really above the usual standard that we're used to. Yeah. And I saw how you were able to embody that character. And I was just curious, what is your thought process? Do you have a routine? What do you do before you get into a particular character, before you get on set?
So the first of all, just to address certain things, I think that YouTube is a place where creativity, has to be maximized because of the kind of budgets that we're working with. Short time span, you're not trying to be on set for a few weeks. You just want to be on set for enough time to tell a good story. And so we're forced to be a lot more creative. And Bimbo does an exceptionally good job of that. Same as other people I've worked with, Biodun Steven, Bolaji, Ogumola, and the likes. And if you check out some of those movies, I started to do these YouTube films. And no matter where I find myself, whether it's a Netflix original, a cinema film, or now on YouTube, I'm going to give my 100%. I'm not going to look and say, oh, this is not the, And thankfully, when you're working with people who are excellent-minded, like, the people I've mentioned, you can easily bring your A game. For me, processes, different acting techniques, right? You go to school. I didn't study theater arts. I actually tried to go back to school to study theater arts. I did the exam. To go to Unilag study theater. They failed me. Well, I failed. So they say, I didn't get picked. Let me just put it like that. I didn't get.
You failed the exams?
Look, there was nothing they were asking there that seemed like a big deal to me. I answered the thing. I was confident. I went back to check. They said I was not accepted in. I said, okay, no problem. We keep moving. So again, I didn't necessarily study formally, but I put in a lot of work, and I'm constantly just learning. First of all, as a human being, you always have to be observant. As an actor, you have to observe how human beings behave. You have to be able to pick different things, and that's how you create characters. There are different style techniques, method acting. You've heard of method acting?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yes.
We have Stella Adler. We have, a few other techniques out there. But what I found is these techniques they're not a reflection of the realities of Nigeria. And getting into acting at the time, you could get called last minute. Hey, there's an opportunity here, there's a film here, we need you for a few days. You might see the script 2-3 days before, maybe not, but you have to give a performance. So I always did the thing where I was constantly prepared ahead of time. So I kind of decided, to create a technique that works for me within Nollywood, where you're prepared ahead of time. So I'm doing research on several types of characters, building these characters, and then more or less just waiting to see scripts
that fit into,
and then you adjust as
I like that method. Yeah. So it's more or less like you just immediately you get.
I call it the Deyemi Okanlawon method.
Yes. So immediately you get a script that fits into a particular character, you just copy and paste, quote unquote, with the
more
lines.
or less, yes. If you spend enough time imagining different things, watching different movies, learning from Daniel Day-Lewis and the Denzel Washingtons and all these men who are great actors, and you see different things they're doing, you can piece things together. And then based on what you have, the material that you have, you can adjust.
All right, now let's talk about Nollywood and what is currently happening. There are conversations about streamers leaving. Others were saying, okay, streamers just stopped commissioning originals, and there's this conversation about people moving from cinema movies to YouTube because it's better with the revenue, and sometimes you don't make your money back at the cinema. You are an executive producer. What has been your experience? Did you make back your money when you went to the cinemas?
Thank God. By the grace of God, I did. But remember that in 2019, I quit acting, and I joined Silverbird Film Distribution for 2 years. See, I cannot afford to go to school and do an MBA and then come back and come and perform. So I went to work. That was me going to school to understand the industry from the other angle. I joined Silverbird as the head of marketing, and then I was promoted to head the Nollywood distribution desk, and eventually I became the acting CEO for Silverbird for a brief period in 2021. So I was there for 2 years, learning. By the time I came back, I started planning to produce my own film because now I had enough information. And I find that a lot of people get into the business of filmmaking without understanding the terrain as they should. Some people are lucky, or they have some experience that really helps catapult them. I didn't have that massive fan base, or, and I wasn't a comedy type person. So I knew it had to be find the right story that fits this environment that can potentially be embraced by everybody. And it worked. It worked. We went to the cinema. We did over 130 million in sales, ticket sales, and it got picked up by Amazon Prime as one of the last few films that they took before they changed their business strategy. I'm talking about this change with the streamers. I don't 100% blame the streamers for their change in their business model, and it was really just a change in business model, but it didn't quite benefit us. The first thing is the economy went a certain way. You understand that if a company is making, say, when you convert the naira that they make to dollars, it turns to $1 million a year. But by the time our naira, depreciated, right? What goes back to that company literally went from maybe $1 million naira, quote unquote, to like 300,000. Same amount of money that they get from Nigeria converted to naira dollars became much less, about a third. And so for them, business-wise, that's the first thing. I know how tech companies work. I worked in tech. I know how they work. They set certain things and look and say, okay, we have to make this decision one time, and they pull the plug. But that aside, there's also the fact that I think a lot of the streamers had this expectation that when it comes to Nollywood, a place where you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to create films, they expected to find certain gems. With the kind of investment that they made, they expected to see a lot more creative stuff that wouldn't just appeal to Nigerians in Nigeria and the diaspora, even Africans, but mainstream, meaning everybody around the world.
Yes.
So they were looking for their Squid Game. They were looking for their money heist that would come out of Nigeria. And while we've had, and I've been on some of the biggest films that have been shot in Nigeria, that have been produced in Nigeria, thankfully. I don't think that it got enough traction. So that was the second part. So
but could that also be the fault of these platforms? Because I know only a few movies were released globally. Most of the Nollywood movies are geo-blocked.
That was recent. That's a recent move.
Really?
Yeah, initially everything was seen across the world.
Oh, wow.
It was a recent move. As they were changing their business model, they decided, okay, look, we're going to spend less on licensing. And if you're spending less on licensing, then the reason would be that you're being specific to a geographical area. So if you're only buying for African continents, for example, you want to spend as much as when you're buying for the global audience.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I guess now we are realizing that, okay, the streaming platforms, there's a bit more restriction there. They're saying, and they're also saying, go to cinema first before we pick up your films.
Why is that? Does that help with the publicity?
Well, so technically, I guess that's where they're going from, to say, okay, when your film goes to cinema, it gets a bit more visibility. People know about it. Some people can make it to cinema, and others wouldn't. Some people have seen it, they will spread the word. But by the time it gets on these streaming platforms, it has potentially more eyeballs. Besides, we've talked about it on social media, we've danced.
That's so another issue.
Yeah, and I don't know that. Everybody around the world has watched, what we're doing on social media, and they're waiting for the film to come out. So yes, it's to their advantage. However, taking a film to cinema is really, really, really difficult for an independent filmmaker, especially if you're starting out. If you're a first-timer, there are so many things that you'll find as obstacles. So it's not really to their advantage. So that's why you find now that there are a lot of people who are serious filmmakers, but they are now gravitating towards YouTube. It's very democratized. Nobody's standing in your way. There's no politics of, are you a popular producer? Are we giving you enough show times? Are you spending enough money on your marketing so that we can now decide whether your film is worthy of attention in cinemas? And people are gravitating toward that. And we've seen the success. We've seen movies do 25 million views. We've seen this recent film I've done with Bimbo and with Bolaji and the likes, Ogumala, Forever with Number Days. This getting massive views across the world. Yeah. So it just seems like an easier route.
You had mentioned that you made over 160 million in your first
130 million.
130 million. So are you saying that cinema films are profitable? Like taking your films to the cinema is profitable? Because I just wanted to get back to that point that you made earlier. And because a lot of producers are complaining. So is there a hack to it? What can we do about it? How can we make more people come see our films if it's not a Funka Akindele film?
So first of all, your profits is totally different, right? So now you're looking at how much did I spend, how much did I make, and you remember that the entire 130 million cinema ticket sales wouldn't come to just the producer. It's split up between the cinema, the government, yes, rightfully so, would take their taxes.
How much was your take home?
You were going to get about 40% of that amount.
Okay.
Roughly about 40% of that amount. And for me, I'll tell you, that didn't cover my costs. However, it is kind of like building a house. You're not expecting to, I hope, as a landlord, that you're not expecting to get all your money from the first year that your tenant comes into place, right? So the way film works is it's a matter of distribution. So I'm going to go on one platform, make a certain amount of money, go on another platform, make another certain amount of money. And over the next 10, 20 years, I can be making money from my film. It might reduce because of the age of the film, and it trickles, but it continues. That's kind of like how
distribution
it works.
continues.
Yeah, the lifespan.
Okay, cool. I've been seeing Hakeem everywhere. Tell me about it.
Hakeem Seeking Justice. JJC Skills, Abdul Bello, amazing creative. He's been in the entertainment space for years as a musician and then as a director, filmmaker. Now he's producing his first film. He told me about this years ago. He said, Deyemi, we have to do something together. And I said, anytime, bro, just give me a call. Then he calls me up sometime the year before, 2023. And he goes, he has this idea about a film. He tells me the idea. I'm like, are you sure about this? And it coincided with me seeing that Nollywood was going into this action phase, this epic, movies, big epic movies, action film, The Brotherhood, you know, Lisa B and the likes. And I just gave myself brain. I said, you know what, I've been playing around, I don't work out as much, it's time to go and become the action guy. And if you're going to be an African action hero, the first thing is that you have to be fit.
Yep, and you have to look the part so that Kunle Remy doesn't come for you.
Who's that?
Kunle Remy?
Who's that?
I think he's a dancer, right?
Oh,
Remy's a dancer,
that
right?
guy.
Yeah, he dances on TikTok.
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
Okay. But anyways, back to... Sorry, Kunle. Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, this thing going to cause problems.
Sorry, Kunle. Yeah, so back to it.
So I got into the gym, I started working out. He calls me up and like, look, you're even looking the part. I said, okay, write the script. He wrote the script, sent it to me. I gave a few notes. And then the script comes back, and I read it again. I'm like, yo, this is really good, but can we achieve this? He said yes. We get on set. We're on set for a month. This film is a revenge film. Somebody messes with a Nigerian ex-military guy's family, and then he goes on the warpath.
Wow.
So this film is about a man in rage. So I was, for a full month, in a mental state that I needed to be on the edge all the time. It was very mentally tasking. If you've seen even the trailer, if you haven't seen the movie, you should go see the movie. It's till date. I mean, I've done some really great work over time, but I would clearly say that till date, this has been or is my best film yet. And I know that there'll be better films coming along the line, but for right now, this film is so good. I've seen it a few times. I'm super impressed. I'm happy and I'm proud to be part of something that is likely going to put Nigeria and Nollywood on the global map. And I just believe that, you know, if we had seen more of these types of films, that perhaps the streamers would have looked and said, you know, there's hope.
Well, yeah, we're actually playing the trailer on the screen right now, and it's really looking good.
Amazing cast lineup.
All right. So, Deyemi, thank you so much for coming on Rubbin'minds. I appreciate it. But finally, what is the future of Nollywood just in a few minutes, or just a minute?
I think that the more we have intentional people coming to the space as investors, as producers, as directors, as actors, the entire film value chain, the more we have intentional and intelligent people coming in, the better it's going to be for us. We are at a point, crossroads of some sort, where we have to now minimize our budget and maximize our creativity. And I think YouTube gives us that avenue for the world to see our work. And once the world starts to see our work, we're not limited to any of these streamers that have come and gone. Yeah. Then we can now start talking about serious distribution on a global scale.
That even leads me to this final question. So, streaming, cinema, and YouTube, can you help me arrange it in the order that you think is best that we approach our films?
How do you mean?
For you, personally.
Yeah.
Cinema, YouTube, streaming. Just help me arrange it.
In terms of how to make money or acting professionally?
Personally. Your preference. Just help me arrange it.
My preference is where there's most money. These are international companies that are running billions.
So streaming one?
So streaming would definitely earn you a significant amount of money, especially if you're commission.
Okay, number two?
Number two, YouTube.
YouTube, okay.
Yeah, YouTube, because with a little bit of money, you can do a lot.
Okay, and then number three?
Number three would be, I might not even mention cinema.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Deyemi. And yes, you'll be hearing from Kunle very soon. And that has been our show on Rubbin'minds today. I hope you totally enjoyed every second of it. My name is Daniel. Until I catch you next time, stay good.
You really wanna get with you. Don't just stand